So I'll just give a quick introduction to what we're doing here, and I'm sure we'll all get to know each other some way, somehow in the next couple of weeks, at least by 1st of May, we will. So yeah, first to introduce myself, I'm Rashmi. I am a programs manager coordinator at the Naturalist School. The Naturalist School has been around for about 2 years now, but effectively a little less than 2 years, 1.5 years. And our main aim is to bring out the naturalist in each one of us and in everyone around. So on that line of thought, I think this conversation about taking part in the City Nature Challenge has happened over the last year or so. Since Stalin joined us as a volunteer, and he has taken part in, and Stalin is here. He has taken part in the City Nature Challenge in the US for 2 years. And the year that he took part in, his region was rated the highest in the number of observations that he got. So he's experienced this firsthand, and I think so we've attended their training over the last 1 year, and we really like the energy that all the volunteers bring to this. And this whole City Nature Challenge is a very volunteer-driven activity. So in that line, so thank you all for actually being here today and actually taking interest to be a part of this, taking time out to be to know something new, like, because this has never happened before, right? So we're all doing this almost for the first time, and all your support matters, and how we get this across to people. So the City Nature Challenge is a global event. It takes place for 4 days every year. It started in 2016, and this happens on the weekend after Earth Day. And this year it falls on the 28th, 29th, 30th of April, and the 1st of May. So luckily we have it's a long weekend. We have the 1st of May, which is also Labor Day. So it's a holiday, so everyone can still explore their surroundings. This year, the Naturalist School, along with BNHS, we have tied up together to organize it in 3 cities, which is Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi. But of course, post our registration, we have had so much interest from others from India. So there are 30 plus cities who have registered and are going to be taking part. So this is the first time we are doing this on such a large scale in the country. Right? So yeah, we've been driven to this, not just in terms of the number of people and being here for the first time, but it's also for the challenge part of it, right? Like, we want to see how much we can get more observations as compared to another city. And our main objective, or the main motivation for us to do this, is just to get people to appreciate their surroundings. Most of us don't even know what is around us. We might have a garden space, but sometimes we don't even realize what grows in it, what is around. And if we are not aware of our diversity within our background, within our backyard, within our city, asking people to conserve it is a big step. That is quite an obstacle sometimes. So getting people to just observe, to see what is around, can be a very powerful tool to help conserve, to help make that motivation, to get people to be aware of what is around and what we can do to protect it, right? So in that line, just a brief on how the City Nature Challenge works. Most of you are from Bangalore, so as a bit of how we are planning to go about it, each city has their own way of going about it and conducting the 4 days. So we here specifically in Bangalore, we have chosen different locations across the city, and we would like all our volunteers, we will also be on the field, to choose which area is either close to you or you're familiar with, or you would like to explore, and take a group of people to explore that area as well. So you can choose a time and location of what is convenient for you, and we'll put these walks up or these events up on a website like Townscript or Bright events, Bright, and then sort of get people to register for this. It's not a paid event, but it's a free event. And the volunteer will just have to brief them about what is CNC, how to use the iNat app, allow them a designated area to explore. And if you are already experts, I know some of you are good at birding, some of you are good at fungi recognition, some of you have different interests, say with trees. If you do, you can add value to your people, to your crowd, and get them to sort of appreciate this or give them some story about what you're seeing around you. But we are not expecting you to be experts in this, right? If you can already recognize, you can already do a recce beforehand and figure out what is the specialty of this region, you can always give them a story about where they are that day in the morning or afternoon, and just add a little bit more interest into that area, right? And then you let them explore, and then after an hour and a half or two, you can choose how long you'd want to be there. Then you do a sort of closure circle and ask them what are the things that they explored, how did it make them feel, and then sort of ask them to do the same exercise in their own backyard wherever they are, wherever they go for the next couple of days that remains of the challenge. So that's largely our ask of how we are going about this. Yeah, I will just share my screen for a second to show you why I was asking in terms of where you are located. I have only just added your names out of what you'll have just mentioned, but you'll feel free to remove your names as you wish. We've put in a couple of locations that we think that are good for Bangalore City. And some of them have already also volunteered to conduct these events or these walks in these areas. And feel free to, we'll share this document with y'all. Y'all can feel free to put in where you think you would like to participate, where you'd like to volunteer. And we have the 4 days. We have 28, 29, 30 and the 1st. We're looking at a morning and an evening slot. You can choose which days you'd like to do, if you'd like to do more, if you'd like to go for a new location on a different day. Please add your names both as a coordinator and underneath these time slots, right? And in case you do find that you do know another location that we could consider, or you're very familiar with it, or you'd like to be with, do explore that area with someone, feel free to add the different locations here, right? So we will be doing constant backups of these just so that, anyone sort of messes or like things go haywire. But as much as possible, if you can just keep straightforward, just input your name and your time slot, it'll be good. We will prefer, it will be nice that you do this with someone. So maybe 2 people at a location or at a time slot might be more just comforting and assuring that you do this with someone else as well. But if you're very confident you'd like to do this alone also, just write your name and we'll probably find someone if you would like, or you have a friend you want to bring along for that day. You can rope them in as a volunteer and get them to register as well. Okay. So this is largely our plan of how we want to go about it in Bangalore. And if you have any other suggestions, please do let us know. There is also another column. I have written the names of everyone who is registered so far and some who I haven't added yet. But if you can add your iNaturalist username as well, it'll help us to connect with you just in terms of, if you need any help on back end, we can help you with that as well. So there's another tab for that. Right. Yeah, I won't overload you with a lot more information. We can have another conversation again. But just from what you've heard in the last 5-10 minutes, is there something that you would like to ask? Happy to answer them now before we get into a bit of the iNaturalist training bit. So
Hi, Rashmi. Is there a minimum number of sessions we need to do, or like minimum number of?
I mean, we are hoping that everyone can do at least two to four walks or events, but like at least two would be nice. Because it's not very intensive. It's not where you're guiding anyone a lot. So, but we're open to at least, hearing you out if you need to do less, but you're really interested. So, yeah, anyone else had any questions?
What about adding suggestions? Like I just noticed that I'm not sure if Agara Lake was on the list, and I know Agara Lakes have a bunch of pelicans or already nesting there, so that might be a good starting point. So is there a process I can just ask? Is this, as in, is Agara Lake doable or something of sorts, or do I just?
You can just add it as another location, and you can just let me know that you've added another location, and even if you can't take part, maybe someone else in that area can. We don't want to limit it only to these locations, but we can add, you can definitely add your own location there as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and even these are all the natural hotspots that we have found in the city, but we've also seen like one of the areas that I've added in is like this Embassy Pristine. We had a nature walk done there recently, and they're very keen on it. So it's like a locality and it's a apartment complex, but they would really like to take part in this as well. So if you have something either in your own, like your own apartment or locality, they want to take part, please put them in touch. Or you can think of something that like Good Earth is a community that definitely people there would like to participate. So things like that, like it doesn't have to be a park or a lake as such. It can be an institution, Bangalore University, of course, IISc. These are different locations as well, right?
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
So Rashmi, I had a question.
Yeah.
So how many people are expected to participate?
We're looking at least a minimum of 8 to 10 people at least who might come. Like sometimes maybe there'll be 5 people who come. We're not very sure, but the smaller the better. I don't think we're looking for more than 15, at the max like 20 people for an event. So smaller the easier for you all to do it, to handle it.
Yes, so these 20 people, will they be distributed across the areas or?
So we will, when we put this up on the TownScript app, or when we put this out for people to register, we will probably limit it to 15 or 20 people. And then I suppose the day before or 2 days before, we'll have a list. We'll have a list of participants for this area, and we'll share that with the volunteer for that location. So they'll know how many people are a part of it. So
okay,
it's for the specific region. We will put it up as, say, Agra Lake on this time, and people can register for that event.
okay.
Can I ask you a question, one thing?
Yes, Shekhar.
Is that Nandins also comes within your limits in that map?
Yeah, it does.
In the metropolitan.
Yeah, very good question, Shekhar. Because we have not just put Bangalore city, our geography is Bangalore metropolitan region. So a lot of Bangalore rural area, Ramnagara, a lot of places come under the Bangalore metropolitan region. So yeah, Devnhalli definitely falls under that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the group, the WhatsApp group, so that everyone else also might be holding the same question, and it can be answered there. Or if you find you would like to ask me or Stalin personally, you can reach out to us and we will help you out in whatever way we can. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will hand it over to Stalin. Stalin, thank you for doing this, taking time from your schedule as well. And I'm looking forward to your session again.
Yeah. Can I share my screen?
You can.
I'm not able to.
Okay. Sorry, you have two devices. 1 second. Yeah.
Just a minute as I get set. Hey, can everyone hear me? Rashmi, you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hey, thanks everyone for attending this meeting. So just like Rashmi, I am one more volunteer at the Naturalist School, and I'm mainly getting to work on this particular project, which is the City Nature Challenge 2023. And since I have some experience with this while I was in the United States, so this is where I'm starting to collaborate with the Naturalist School. And today we will just go through a small brief about what is citizen science. I think most of you already know, or you might already have been part of various citizen science projects. So we'll just go through that. And then what is the iNaturalist app that we are using. And then I'll show you a couple of ways in which we can use this app. And maybe I know a few of you already are iNaturalist users, but we'll assume this is the first time you're using, and then we will go through it. We have half an hour more. I will try my best to do this. Maybe if Rashmi is available, she can take some questions towards the end. Today, unfortunately, I have another meeting to go to at work. So let's get started. So what is citizen science, right? So essentially, now that technology has kind of democratized collecting data, so citizen science is just is where so there is a lot of difficulty in defining citizen science. Let me say that straight away, because um, there is citizen science aspect in astronomy. There is citizen science in drug discovery, especially the various vaccines that are being discovered very fast, as well as there is citizen science in ecology. So a good attribute to any project being citizen science is it is a collaborative research conducted by actual scientists with a huge participation from general public. So essentially, it's a bridge that is between professional scientists and people like us who are amateurs or hobbyists who are more interested in supporting these scientists. So we are not professionals, but we would like to enhance our knowledge. We would like to feel part of a greater cause. So that is where citizen science happens. And like I said, the big help that we do is by collecting a wide variety and diversity of data. And we can do that in a very short amount of time, like this citizen or city nature challenge. And there are also projects exploring interpretation of data and analysis of data through citizen science. So in astronomy, I know if we have a powerful computer that we have, we can allocate small amount of resource to these open source astronomy softwares. So, but what are the outcomes, right? The outcomes is essentially by our participation, by more people who are aware and participating, we magnify the impact of the particular project. And as volunteers or people who appreciate nature, it betters our awareness, and it gives us very concrete data that the scientists can then take to policymakers who are tasked with, let's say, setting the laws or rules that governs a certain natural area. And we have also seen a lot of research publications that come out through citizen science. So this is a brief on citizen science and why citizen science in ecology is especially something that is, when we say citizen science in ecology, it has to either document natural history or through a way it has to support nature conservation. And it is also mainly to kindle a sense of joy and belonging to public, because it is not if people feel very excited about certain things in nature, let's say if you can think about where and why we all started our own journey in appreciating nature, it is not to go and do nature conservation or these great causes. It is actually because we found a sense of joy. Like I personally found a lot of joy in discovering mushrooms and then looking at various patterns of rock when I was a kid. And that still holds me irrespective of I do a particular project or not. I can still forever look around rocks in a new place or mushrooms in a new place after rain. And I feel very calm and peaceful. So that is how I started. So this is to rekindle that when we being in a mega diverse country, that means if one of these 17 countries were to lose its biodiversity, then the world as a whole will lose a very valuable part of this rich biodiversity that we share. And that is why these are key countries where nature conservation is looked at a global scale. And at a national level, we also boast of a huge variety and diverse ecosystems which are housed to a lot of endemism. That is, if we take amphibians, every month you have new amphibians being reported which are discovered in India. It's just that they were always there, but it is reported to science very newly. And if we lose that, these are amphibians which are not there in any of the other countries. So similarly, if you take Brazil, if you take Australia, they all have their own rich natural history. So that's why this is very exciting for us to participate. And we all know there is a lot of pressure on climate due to climate change and biodiversity loss. But this is some way of us to do something purposeful instead of maybe sometimes being very it's a depressing thing if you get excited about nature conservation, because a lot of news is not frankly very uplifting. But here is where we can do a small part, which is this citizen science. And some examples. So eBird, a lot of us are, a couple of folks here said they are into birding. They will know eBird. So you look at a bird, you can put it in a list on that day and post it to this site. And let's say 1,000 people post this Indian pitta observation all over India. And then based on when they are posted, this data is just visualized differently, and then we can see where does it stay in summer, where does it stay in winter. And then you can very clearly see towards November, December, January, this bird all over India comes to these rich tropical rainforests that we have in the Western Ghats here. So this is one cool way to see, as well as when we do this in a much more structured manner. I say for a few of us know State of India's birds. So this was observing almost 1 crore observations on these eBird as an environment. And this involved so many researchers all over India and the world. And they decided how do they gather data, how do they curate data, and then what do they look for. And then they tried to create outcomes as recommendations for policymakers, recommendations for researchers, recommendations for public, through just taking data from this eBird as a platform. And if you have not seen this, I highly recommend you go to this website. Fantastic resource. And we can use this to talk to people or kids or anyone in our office also. So this has beautiful resource of charismatic species of decline like vultures. How has their observations been over the years? So again, all of this data is only as relevant as the quality of these observations, and that's why we want more people to observe, which we already do. But it's just that we will like to take a little effort to go and post these observations on these platforms. Okay, and one more area where just professionals can never be able to make a difference is these observing invasive species. We all know lantana. We all are very aware of Parthenium. Almost any disturbed space in an urban environment are overridden by that. And if we can go on India Biodiversity Portal as one more platform, if you can go and report it, whenever you are reporting lantana, it will automatically get clustered in that particular master project. And then people and researchers who are looking into the spread of it can go and extract data from there. And at the same time, any insect which are, let's say, exotic invasives that are intruding and then hurting our farmers, that is also something which professionals cannot handle, but as interested public, we can help them. So this is something which has been done all over the world in monitoring invasive species. In the US, there is also a very small school project where people who are junior rangers, they are able to report this. So I will try to be as close to the microphone, but again, if there is issue in hearing my voice, kindly raise and then bring that up, and then we will try to see what's happening. Okay, so City Nature Challenge is a 4-day event towards in spring or summer in our case. So multiple cities from all over the world participate. You're just trying to, so this started as a friendly competition between Los Angeles and San Francisco in the US in 2016. And then 2017, it spread all over the US. That's when I started participating. And 2018, it spread to many parts of the world. And as of 2022, we had close to 450 cities participate. Essentially, we go to iNaturalist, we post observations of any natural organisms that we have encountered in our own cities, or it can be a boundary in which the city. So, so the dates are 28th April to 1st May this year. So that is the date to go and observe. And then there is also a date to help in identifying observations. Not everyone we post an observation, we will be able to post what this is. So there are two such dates. So first is to get most people to participate, and then we will get a small group of people to help and curate and observe or identify this data. So iNaturalist is the main tool to add observations. So CNC in India, over the years, 2018, we had 2 cities take part in a small scale. 2021, there was 1. 2022, there was 1 school in Thane. And 2023, right now, we have close to 30 cities all over India taking part. And here is where we as volunteers are trying to focus more on Bangalore, but similarly, there are folks working on it in Chandigarh. I know there are folks in Mumbai and Delhi we are closely in touch with. So any strategy we derive in Bangalore, our partners in Mumbai and Delhi are going to replicate something similar. So again, we need your participation. So I will personally, my own goal is to post 100 different species in this 4 days. And then if I can personally motivate 10 more people, my spouse or 2 people from my office or my mom, she takes a lot of photos of the garden. If I can get 10 more people to join me and post, then it would be a success for me. And so that's my goal. And very quickly, what is a necessity of any citizen science project is trained public. So that is what we are doing now. So we are getting volunteers trained, so volunteers can train people who join. And when I mean training, it's just about what is the project we are coordinating for. Sometimes it can be a very very well structured project. Like you take a transect, if you want to observe butterflies, you take a transect, walk 200 meters, and then look at all the butterflies crossing from, let's say, left to right or right to left. So it can be as simple as that. Or if you want to look at insects, take a small square and observe everything within that. So these are structured projects, whereas our City Nature Challenge is about observing anything and everything that we encounter. So that is the first part. And then we train public for a purposeful project, and this project will have certain requirements. And using these requirements, the scientists who take this data can later
tests that capitalizable and others are.
So using the data that public is observing and documenting, there can be further analysis and then further interpretation of that. And the necessity of this is to use an effective tool. In our case, we are going to use iNaturalist. But this exact flow can be tailored for any different ecology project. Okay, so iNaturalist need not be a tool; it can be a eBird also. So here is where we will take the first pass. So iNaturalist is an app available on smartphones. So essentially, you can take a photo, post it into this app, and then it can help identify, and then the broader community can look into it. It is also available the website as an even more powerful interface. I'll be showing some of that. So as volunteers, we would like to know where we observed and where other people have observed. So this has a lot of natural resource managers. If you see anyone working on as an ecology student in India, they would know this app, and then they would create, if they are working in, let's say, Dehradun Forest Research Institute, they can create a small boundary around it, like we do in cities, and then they can post their nature findings there, and then they can use it to generate reports, generate data, generate guides, generate even a small booklet out of it. So it's a fantastic project. Fantastic platform. So maybe through City Nature Challenge, you get a chance to use it. And then later, after this, maybe I would wish some of this was handy for you to do anything that you want to observe for the rest of your life. So this is an so I hope everyone has installed the app. So I'm going to so if not, just click it, let it install in the background, and then you will need to create a user profile. So this has so you can use your Google account, and then you can directly log into iNaturalist. So that is the simplest. That's what I have done. A lot of us have done that. You can also connect it with Facebook. Though I'm not sure how much longer it is going to be valid. So Google is a very clean way to get into iNaturalist. So the first and only thing when we have to observe, or when we have to understand, is what is an observation. So observation is a fundamental building block. Let's say language has words and constructs. So iNaturalist uses observations, and cluster and collections of observations are used. So what is an observation, right? So observation is just a record of an encounter with an organism. So it need not be only a living organism. It can be a dead one. Like if you see a roadkill, if you see a turtle which has been run over, so that is an encounter with that organism. So you can go and record it. So if you see tracks, let's say footprints of a tiger in a national park, so that is also an evidence of that organism being there. So if you see a nest, I know some folks in their attic, sometimes there are birds which come and build nests. So you can take a photo of that. That is a record. So you can even take a photograph of a feather that is down. There is a kid homeschooled in our community. He likes to collect a lot of different feathers wherever he goes through. So those are some of his own observations. And it can be wild, so which means these are wild animals, whereas it can be captive. It can be a plant which we grow in our garden, which is a captive, or cultivated. So when we say captive, it is more like there is a boundary or a fence within which it is being held. Like if you go to Bannerghatta, the herbarium like herbivore enclosure, these deers are held captive there in one section. But if you go out in the national park, they are let to roam free. So this is the only classification that someone asks when you post it. Just mark if it is captive or cultivated. By default, it is as a wild. Let's say if you observe a crow, the crow is a wild crow, most likely. But if you observe, so for folks who have to drop off, there is a recorded training from the last session. We will share that also. So feel free if you have other commitments, and then we will also maybe have one more session. Okay, so let's say we do that observation, and then what are the qualities of an effective observation? So this is a person observing, and then they're observing a butterfly, or they're observing a flower. So what are the qualities, right? So first is, who is the person who's observed, because that is also important. And what is it that they are observing? And when did they observe? What time of the year did they observe? And then what is an evidence for supporting that observation? Do they have photos? Do they have sound of the bird? Or do they have a drawing of that, because the bird was observed through a binocular? We have a small sketch. And more importantly, now location is becoming very, very important. So people can use GPS locations, which our phone actually has. And then we can have a geotag into this particular picture also. So on top of all of that, to boost our own connection with nature, there are so iNaturalist has a free form entry where you can say some behavior. I saw so very recently I saw a darner, a dragonfly, catch a butterfly, and then it was flying around, and then it perched and it ate it for almost an hour. So that is a behavior you can capture in that. Or what was the weather like, or what was the habitat like in general, especially when you are trying to identify moss. Was it on the west facing side of a tree? Was it on the east facing side of a tree? So such observations can also be put, because at the end someone can help us identify and deepen our understanding. So that's how we, but those are attributes of an observation. But how do we do it is very simple. I'm sure all of us will be able to figure out. So essentially there is a button, if you open the app, called observe, or it can be a plus based on which version of the tool you are in. So once you do that, it will ask you, do you want to take a photo through the app, or do you want to use a photo that you already have? So a good way to do that is take some photos with your regular app which you are comfortable with, and then go and load that photo. So take that photograph, observe it. The moment you do that, the tool will also try to use its algorithm to detect what is it that is observed in the photograph, and then it will show that. You can choose to say, if it is a very good photo and multiple photos, and it is able to identify it as a, let's say, one particular type of frog, so well and good. Or if not, we can give a small note saying this is a frog, or this is a snake, or this is a flowering plant. So we can give that, we can give some notes. The rest of it kind of gets populated on its own. The time is pulled from the photograph. Location, if it is a GPS enabled device, then the location is also brought from there. Captive or cultivated is something which we tick or untick. So by default, it is wild. And once that is done, you can just say upload observation. So that will complete that. And so I will now let all of us do one more thing. So I'm going to leave this image on. So if some of you are attending this on your laptop or on your phone, you can take a screenshot or take a picture of this, and you can try to post an observation of this in your own iNaturalist profile. This is a black kite which I saw last month, and you can take this. There will be no difficulty in that tool for it to observe this as a black kite. Can we all try this? So last time we tried, all of us were able to do it. Rashmi tried it. We had a few more folks who joined. They were also trying it. It worked. Or go ahead and feel free to even observe. So all of us will certainly have some photos of nature. So go and put a plant in your garden or a bird which you observed. You can use that also as your first observation.
So is there anyone who has to download the app or has not used it earlier?
I hadn't used it, but I just now tried it, and yes, it's working well.
Okay.
Okay. So we have 10 more minutes. So let me show you a web interface also. So again, like I said, you can use any of your photographs. It's just a two-step process. Go into the app, load that photograph. You might need to give permission the first time, and then just follow through. Whatever information you have, you can give. But otherwise, that's the simplest thing on your phone. So when you are trying to identify something, if it permits, it is better to give much more photos than just one. So essentially, for example, if it's a tree, what is the overall shape of the tree? One, do you have close up of the leaf? Do you have a close up of the bark? Was it colored? Was it smooth? Was it textured? Such things can help. And the same thing applies for an insect also. Same thing applies for anything else, like multiple angles. A well focused photograph, for example, if it is not well focused, then it is a caterpillar or a larva, but it's almost very difficult to identify. So in this example, it is focused well, but the initial identification was done as a wheel bug. But the person said that it is not a wheel bug. If you have taken a picture from the top, you would have seen this leaf foot and the back foot, and then it was a leaf footed bug. So multiple angles will help. And if you have a picture well focused, but then there is no scale, some of these insects are very difficult to observe. So I'm not saying scale of exact number of millimeters or centimeters, but rough, let's say as big as a 5 rupee coin, or as small as a tip of a pencil, or bigger than my thumb. So such things are also easy to add. So those are some things which we can add. And then as volunteers, so what I would just recommend is, in order to be mindful of safety when we are going out in the field to observe, so it is simple to just keep using the devices that we already use for photographs. If you have a SLR, or if you have a phone to click photographs, let's just use that. And then we will come back to a safe place, and then we can use iNaturalist to post these. So these observations can be posted, in fact, after the day also, because the date is already embedded in the pictures. So this is the best way in which it will also help us pay more attention and then gain more insights from being out in the field. And then we can come back, we can sit in a safe place, in a comfortable place more so, and then go and post all of these observations. And this is something which has worked very well in my experience. And this is something which at the Naturalist School, to all of these nature guides in their own trainings, we also instill in them. So if they are leading people, let that let all of them have very good nature experience, and then we will do some other additional processes. Okay, so I'm going to show very quickly how to post observations on the website, and it's as simple as dragging and dropping onto that website. And once you do that, a bunch of photos will come up, and then you can select all of them, and then you can give a common location for all, and then you can say this is not, so you can change the boundary also. So you can put an exact GPS coordinate, or you can even search for Kagdaspura Lake, so Agara Lake. So it will all come up. So anything you can search on Google Map, you can search here. So once you do that, the location is done. And then you take one, I'll walk you through it. You take one example, and sometimes it detects a bulbul. And then this is a red vented bulbul, and because the red whiskered one has a whisker on its head, so you can select that. And sometimes it will say, based on nearby observations, the tool is very clear that this is a particular bird you are observing, or an animal you are observing. So one thing when I was trying to post some observations is, I never paid close attention to babbler. For me, it was all babblers and babblers wherever I see. So when I tried, it said, hey, this can be two different babblers. It can be yellow-billed or a jungle babbler. So I spent a little more time on eBird, and then I looked at both. So what I was observing was a yellow-billed babbler, and this was something which said yellow-billed babbler have slight texture. They have a bluish eyes. I was able to zoom in and see. Jungle babbler is much more smooth, less texture, and the leaf and the tail is also paler. So it was something I learned through paying attention, in fact, post facto, not in the field. Okay, so this is where the website is very helpful, because we have more real estate to read about all of this. And now let me quickly share. So I've logged in, and then once I log in, I have this upload icon on the right, and then I will split the screen. So I'm going to click upload, and then it brings this landing page. And on this, I am going to drag and drop a bunch of these. These were pictures I took with my SLR in Dandeli last year. I've just dragged and dropped, and then you can see these two are same damselflies. So I'm going to drag and drop. So it has become one observation with two pictures. Okay, so these two are the same caterpillar, and then these two are the same turtle. And let me now maximize the screen. And then here is a hump-nosed pit viper, two of them. And here is, we'll go into this image. Here is three pictures here. Okay, so let us take all of these. So you can see location is not there for all, but for this one alone. So this particular one, I clicked with my phone. That's why this location is there. And this is what I know I'm going to use for all other observations also. Okay. So this is very close to, I'm just zooming out to say Amarde, AMARDE. So I'm going to use that as an observation, and I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to say the location is going to be this, because one of this is already there, it has come. So I'm going to just click right on top of that, and then I'm going to say update observation. So it has created the same location for everything, as simple as that. Okay. So that's the first thing I generally do. And then I click and try to observe the species. So I've clicked here. It has identified it is a rat snake, and it says it is oriental rat snake based on it is visually similar and observed nearby. Let's say I post that. I click that, and then we will take one more. So this is a hump-nosed pit viper. So I know that because the guide was very clear, and then he showed us. So if you see this, the nose has that hump, and then there is that identifying line that goes through the middle of this eye. Okay. And what else can, so similarly you can just go through and do. So here is one. This is a millipede, this is a centipede, which when this was clicked at the middle, like this was clicked at around 10 o'clock at night, we all clicked photographs, but then when I went home, that's when I saw that the centipede was having something in its mouth. And if I zoom in, it was a centipede which had hunted a tarantula. So it has hunted a tarantula, and then that's why it was not moving when a bunch of us were clicking photographs. Okay. So it was a cool thing which we didn't know in the field. But so I am keeping these two separate. I'm going to identify one as the tarantula, and I'm going to identify one as the centipede. And then yesterday I was trying to see it has identified a spider, but then if I type a centipede, so centipede, and then this particular centipede is of class Chilopoda. So you can see the similar behaviors, right? The way the legs come out. So this is a particular type of centipede, and you can have very different types, and it's a good tool to explore also. Let's say I go, where is my observation? Where's my observation? Oops, here. So the rest of it, I will go and edit it later, but then I'm going to just post these just for the sake of time. And crimson drop. So this is a damsel fly. I'm just going to type damsel fly. Let me just submit. Sometimes you'll be surprised. Someone else will come and observe this quickly for me, or clarify the identification for me. So after this, I want to go into one observation, and then which we observed as hump nose. I'm going to go into this observation. And when you click it, all other observations of hump nose will come up. So this is the most useful thing I see. So all over India, you see the hump nose pit vipers is endemic to Western Ghats, and then some similar ecosystems in Sri Lanka. So it is not observed anywhere else. So this is a species of concern, and this was one of the species of concern in that expedition. And most of these are observed here. And you can click that. You can go into this page if you want to spend even more information. So all the Wikipedia information is pulled directly into the tool. The seasonality, these are observed much more in the monsoon season, and you can see towards the monsoon and just before fall you have more. And then you can see taxonomy if you are interested in this as a researcher. You can see if it is in the IUCN species of concern. So this is a species of conservation importance, and then any other similar species. So now so I highly encourage you to use the web interface, because it's much more like really engaging to me. So I can just go into explore, and then I can type India, and then it gives all the observations in India. It says there are 27,000 species observed. Let's say I go into filter very quickly. I say I only want amphibians, which are wild and which are threatened. And then it immediately goes down. And here is what I said. There are these small hotspots for amphibians, which are all threatened and then which are not even described sometimes. And then you can have a map view or you can have a thumbnail view. And then you can go into, let's say I click Amboli bush frog. So here is what I showed for the hump-nosed pit viper that we just posted as an observation. Okay, so you can see all of this information. Again, for want of time, we were looking at the region. So Bangalore metro region is here. So it is all the way, including Channapatna, and then it includes all the boundary with Tamil Nadu. So this is 3 districts: Bangalore, I think Bangalore rural, and then Ramanagaram, Channapatna district. So all 3 districts are put here. So there will be no issues in getting a lot of observations or places where we are or where we would like to be a hotspot or be part of it. Okay, so we can do that. And then as a coordinator, I would say get trained on iNaturalist, introduce your circle to iNaturalist. You can join the Bangalore CNC Bangalore project. So there won't be observations today. Only the observations will come when we are posting it during that time. And then do reach out to us. So we are very motivated to do this. And then seeing a lot of folks spend time and effort is also really uplifting. Okay, so as participants, their whole thing is plan it out. It is in summer, so I would highly encourage you all to maybe have not have maybe meet observations middle of the day, which is going to be difficult. Or if it is that, maybe we can have an observation right in the backyard of a friend's place. So we can do a lot of things. Just plan this out, and then don't focus. We don't need to focus on having too many people. We can just introduce it to the community where we are working with, and then we can do it as a fun event, because posting an observation for this event is not the ultimate thing. Just kindling that curiosity in people is our goal, right? This is one such example. And to collaborators, it's a good exposure to use this tool. This iNaturalist tool is very, very good. And maybe next year we can have an even better participation. So later we'll skip identifying right now. So later we also need more experts to come in and identify, and then some ideas. So even like someone said, Kagdaspura was there. I work in CV Raman Nagar, Bagmane Tech Park. So there are lakes. If I go to lakes, I can see a lot of birds. But then along the street, I can see a lot of milkweed. I can see avenue trees. I can see trees which are flowering right now, and I can see butterflies attracted to flower. So there are still various ways to post if you are really challenging yourself. Wild observations where we live. An invasive plant is a wild one. And then there are birders, a couple of birders in this group. You might be very used to eBird. So don't worry, you can take eBird checklist and it can be very easily converted into iNaturalist. So when we go to eBird after a walk, you can download the checklist. The checklist is going to look like this: step 2. But the format we need to put in iNat is the 3rd format. So you take this checklist, you delete some columns, you add a column, and then you can create a new CSV file and upload it into iNat. And then it is essentially, instead of drag and drop, you are only going to import a CSV and it will be uploaded. I've tested it out. So even if you want another level, let's say you take people on bird walk, you take care of putting it on eBird. You can send us the checklist, and we from Naturalist School can do this at the background and convert and upload. So that is also possible. Okay. So with that, few minutes over time. Thank you for your time. Thanks for participating. And then any questions, comments on this, please reach out. Since we are all on this WhatsApp group, do share your iNaturalist usernames also. We can follow each other as we learn.
Yeah, thank you, Stalin. That was quite in-depth, and the use of the iNat app, the iNaturalist app, spans far beyond what we want to achieve in those 4 days, but it's nice for anyone who's in the research field as well to use that. Yeah, we're not paid to promote the iNat thing, but we're using it as because it's just very convenient and very knowledgeable quite quickly, right? So
yeah,
Yeah, so any questions, any impressions, any inhibitions, or more excitement from all of you? Like anything that you're experiencing right now, would love to hear as we close in the next few minutes.
I'll go. My name's Sudhanva. I work at the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. I thoroughly enjoyed what Stalin took us through, and also what you said earlier, Rashmi. Thank you, Stalin, for taking the time to do this. It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to participating in this. I've been doing a lot of eBird work, but iNaturalist is definitely something that I'm looking forward to using a lot more.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks, Sudhan. I think, yeah, it'll be very useful for what you all do at IHS. Anyone else? The ones.
Hi, Stalin.
Yeah, Sanat. Yeah.
Stalin, how iNaturalist is different than IBP?
It's very similar. So India Biodiversity Portal is very similar. Both have observations, both have different origins. iNaturalist had come from, I think, California Academy of Sciences. And there are efforts which at broad level, researchers are trying to extract data from both of these and then try to combine it and research. So if you are well used to India Biodiversity Portal, this is very similar and you will have absolutely no issues. Sometimes it's essentially which works, like does Uber work or Ola work, right? It's sometimes our convenience, it's just like that.
Okay.